What's up, guys? It's Pick'em with HuddleGG, and welcome back to another episode of Ask Huddle. If you guys are new here, this is a series that we do each week. We answer your guys' questions. So if you have a question you'd like answered in a future video, wherever you're watching this, just make sure you leave that in the comment section below, and we will do our very best to get to it. If you don't see it in a future video, you can always join our free Discord by going to HuddleGG/Discord, and we answer your guys' questions in there as well. So again, appreciate you guys being here with us this week. Let's dive into this week's questions. And the first question comes from Bluegrass, and I love this question. And they ask, what's the best way to get pressure when you're using a defensive lineman? And I do want to preface this by saying, if you want to be the best version of yourself that you can be on the defensive side of the ball in Madden, you don't want to be using a defensive lineman. You want to be using a middle linebacker or safety over the middle of the field. It's a lot easier for you to take away multiple routes on the field than it is the AI. But I understand some people are more comfortable using D linemen, or they just want to have fun and get pressure after the quarterback, which I totally get. I will do that occasionally myself. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to keep it simple when we're rushing the passer. I like to attack the inside shoulder the majority of the time with my player. Okay, so what we're going to do is whoever you want to use, or you can use any of these guys. I would recommend not using an interior lineman who's lined up in between two blockers. So you can see here how he's lined up in the A gap. Typically the A gap is where you want to avoid, because he's going to get double teamed. We don't want to try to attack a double team, right? This guy is most likely not going to get double teamed because obviously the right guard, right tackle can't double team down, or else this guy would come in free. So again, you want to find a guy who's most likely going to get a one-on-one block. We're just going to use this guy to the outside here, and I like to attack the inside shoulder the majority of the time. So what we're going to do for that is just flick the right stick up into the direction of that inside shoulder. So obviously if we're on the left, we would push the right stick up or a little to the right, and then I would say about 2 o'clock on a if you're looking at a clock. So again, up and to the right is going to be our best bet. And I do like to lock my player in place before I do any of this. Okay, so what we're going to do that is we're going to push left on the D-pad and bring up our stunts and push RB. And now what you're going to see is no matter where I move my left stick right now, my player's not going to move. Okay, the reason we do that is because now I can hold down and I can get a good jump when they say hike. Okay, so what you're going to see here is when they go to say hike, we're going to rush, and then we're going to flick that to the inside, and you can see how we are able to get that really quick pressure. If we look at the replay here real quick, you're going to see what we can do, obviously, on this left tackle. You see, as soon as we are about to make contact with the tackle, so you actually want to flick that right stick in the direction you want shortly before making contact. You can flick it to the right once you've made contact, but you won't get this super win possibility. It'll be a different type of shed. But you can see here how we are able to get to the inside, and we're going to be able to generate really quick pressure on the quarterback by doing this move. Now, there are a ton of different moves that you can do. Obviously, you can do spins, you can do rips, you can do swims, you can do clubs, things like that. I would recommend just simply flicking that right stick, again, up into the inside shoulder. Now, if you are using an interior lineman, you can flick the right stick down or up. So if you go up, it's going to do a rip move. If you do down, it's going to attempt a bull rush. So we can try that here. And again, it's not guaranteed to work when you're doing this. Obviously, you can see the right guard has pass rush points build up. Those are those bars underneath of him, which makes it a little bit harder for us to get pressure. But if they go to say hike and we are trying to get a bull rush, you can see how we were able to push that player into the backfield. And then you may need to do a secondary move at that point as well. Okay, so if you get the bull rush and then you get him on his heels, so you can see here that right guard, we bull rush him, we get him on his heels backing up. Then we want to flick that stick in a specific direction to really get around that block. Once we have knocked him onto his heels, it's easier to beat that block. And you can see that we're able to get that pressure there and get, obviously, a quick sack in the backfield. So again, this is really, really fun to do. I wouldn't recommend doing it all the time, but if you do feel comfortable being on a defensive lineman, like I said, look to lock your player in place. That's the first key, so you can get a really good jump when they say hike. And then try to flick that stick in the direction you're attempting to flick it shortly before making contact with the blocker. You don't want to wait till you make contact, because if you wait till you make contact, like I said, you're going to have to wait a split second before you're actually eligible or able to get a shed. But again, try this out if you want to have fun. Like I said, it is kind of cool to get some pressure after the quarterback in this way. Our next question goes right along with our first question, and this one comes from John Doe, and they ask, can you confirm if they changed pass rush points to stamina based? So the answer is yes. And EA actually did mention this in one of their gameplay blogs early on in the season before Madden actually came out. And the best way and the easiest way to see this is actually to go into CFM. And if we pull up the roster here, we're just going to go pick a good defensive lineman. So let me just go to D tackle, just so I can look at abilities, or somebody that has access to a lot of abilities. And we're going to see what it actually says for these abilities. So it's not going to be every ability, obviously. Like interior threat here, it says defenders with this ability use faster, more dominant pass rush moves while rushing from the interior of the defensive line. Obviously, nothing there is stamina based, right? But again, those abilities that in the past would say this would use one bar or one pass rush point, or you will recover one pass rush point if you win a move. Things like that are stamina based this year. So if we look at the middle one here and we see El Toro, you're going to see defenders with this ability have a chance to receive dominant bull rush wins when their stamina is full. Okay, this consumes additional stamina. So you can see that with other ones as well. So if we look at something like instant rebate, it's going to say defenders with this ability are refunded stamina when they successfully shed blocks. Okay, so you're going to get that with a lot of these. BOGO is going to say defender with this ability are granted a free pass rush move once every play after spending stamina to perform one. So again, double or nothing, they're going to spend twice as much stamina. Okay, so again, these pass rush moves are built around stamina this year. So again, to answer the question, yes, obviously there are different combinations of pass rush abilities that you can utilize. A lot of people love double or nothing and El Toro or interior threat, and then something like instant rebate or extra credit. That's going to be something that a lot of people are running. Again, pass rushers with this ability pay a reduced stamina cost for each pass rush move they attempt. But you can use something like recuperation as well, right? So recuperation is going to be something that allows your player to recoup stamina throughout the play or throughout the game. So that's going to be something that you can look at using as well, because since it is stamina based now, if we have an ability that can help recuperate that stamina for our players, it's going to give us a better chance to win those pass rush moves. This is going to be whether you're using the defensive line like we showed in the last question, or if you're just having your players attempt to win on the line of scrimmage with the AI. Again, stamina is very, very important this year when it comes to your pass rush moves. Our next question comes from Michael Verdine, and again, if I mispronounce your name, I do apologize, but they ask, what's the difference between quarters and palms? So this isn't something that I can entirely answer in a video like this, just because that is a very loaded question that honestly does not have one simple answer. But in general, quarters and palms are going to, again, both be matching coverages, but they're going to have a little bit different rules. I'm going to show you one of those rule sets here and how you can see that visually it's going to look the same in your play art, but when you actually run the route on the field, it's not going to play the same. So if we look at our play here, this is quarters, right? So you see we have 4 deep zones, we have 2 quarter flats, and a 3 rec hook. If we audible to cover 4 palms, you're going to see that we have 4 deep zones, 2 quarter flats, and a 3 rec hook. So again, the actual zones you see on the field are not going to differ. Okay, now if we go back to quarters, we're just going to run a simple 4 verticals look here first. Okay, so if we would run something like 4 verticals, you're not going to see any difference between quarters and palms. Okay, so what you're going to see is the 2 quarter flats are going to zone chuck the inside receivers, and then the 4 deep zones are essentially going to match the player that's directly in front of them. Okay, so if we go to say hike here, you can see again, this is quarters. You're going to see they're going to get zone chucks, and then the deep zones are going to match vertically down the field. Okay, now if we go to something like cover 4 palms, you're going to see that if they would run the same route combination, like a 4 verticals look, you're going to get the same exact defense. Okay, so you're going to get the zone chucks, and you're going to get the 4 deep guys matching vertically on the 4 receivers. So again, in a situation like that, there is no difference between quarters and palms. Now, where you will see a difference against a 2x2 spread set like we have here is if the number 2 receiver goes quick to the flat. Okay, so if this number 2 receiver goes quick to the flat, in quarters, you're going to see the quarter flat take him. Okay, so again, in a defense like quarters, you're going to see that quarter flat take that flat, and then the outside corner is still going to take that streak vertical. So again, that left of screen route combo we're just looking at over there. Again, outside corner is going to take the vertical, and the quarter flat is going to take the flat. Okay, and then you see the safety is actually going to look to double team the number 1 receiver to the outside there. Now, if we do go to palms against a look like that, what palms does is it actually has a trapping rule where the outside corner is going to trap the slot receiver if he goes to the flat quickly. So if we run that same exact route combination to the outside on the left, what you're going to see is the outside corner is now going to leave the streak and come down and cover the flat, and then the safety will replace him over the top. Okay, so what you're going to see is if we go to say hike, you're going to see how the outside corner is going to come down and play that. Now he was delayed on playing that, but you can see that we no longer have a double team on the streak. The quarter flat does not follow the flat all the way. And you saw that the outside corner is actually the one who is trapping this flat. So again, you can see the outside corner is really, really far back alignment wise, but you can see how he comes down and he's going to play this flat route. The quarter flat's just going to essentially play like a curl flat here in this palms coverage. So again, even though the play looks identical between quarters and palms when it comes to what we see visually when we look at our play art, it does have different rules against different sets. Again, this changes against 2x2, this changes against 3x1, whether that solo receiver is split out wide, whether he is in tight like a trips tight end look. Quarters and palms, again, will typically play fairly similar against your bunch sets and your compression sets. But when you start to get these spread out sets like spread, trips, doubles, things like that, you are going to get different rules. If you want all of the rules, you can check out our website. We have taught match rules over at HuddleGG for about 4 or 5 years now. So really any year that you want to look back in the past, you can look at the different match rules that we have taught, and you can start to understand the nuances and the differences between quarters and palms coverage. Our last question today comes from Hot Boy, and they ask, does match coverage work against under center formation? So the short answer is yes. You're still going to have similar rules. So again, if it's a 3x1 formation, you're going to get the 3x1 rules that you would get with a defense like quarters or palms. And we'll show you here, if we are in an under center formation here and they run something like a verticals look, again, you will get similar looks like this out of trips tight end, right? So typically the tight end would be on a corner route in that look. What we'll see in a defense like palms is we will get the outside corner to match the vertical. The quarter flat's actually going to match the middle receiver deep, and then the safety is going to match the inside receiver on his deep crossing route. Okay, so that's just a general rule of what you're going to see here against this specific play. We're just going to get on the defensive line. So obviously we don't take any of those rules with our user. But what you'll see is even though they're under center, we are still going to get the matching rules. And if we go to throw this ball away, we can go to the replay and see that, again, it's going to match just the way it should. Under center or shotgun, pistol, any of that, that doesn't matter. It's really dependent on the formation in terms of number of threats to each side, and is it compression or is it more spread, right? So again, 2x2, 3x1, those things matter a lot. Is it compressed, right? So tight doubles is going to play different than spread. All right, so again, those rules are the same whether it's shotgun or single back or pistol or even I form. You're going to get the ability for your match to work correctly against all of these different alignments and formations. But you can see here, again, we're under center. You can see we get a match here on the outside receiver. Our quarter flat matches vertical on the middle receiver. And then our safety looks to match the number 3 vertical. Then the backside safety looks to double or bracket that crossing route. And then we get match here on the corner route from the tight end. So again, the answer to this is yes. Whether your opponent's in single back shotgun, pistol, I form, strong, weak, it doesn't really matter. You are still going to be able to have match work appropriately. Just got to make sure that you do understand what those match rules are. Like we said in the last question, head over to HuddleGG if you want to see what those different match rules are.